Lights out on race one. Great start from Scott Redding. Michael Ruben Rinaldi gets away very poorly. He may get swallowed up by Alvaro Bautista here into turn one. Razgat Lioglu might be late on the brakes as well. Couldn't quite get alongside Rinaldi, who stems the bleeding. But it's Scott Redding who's come through into second place. It's Ray from Redding, the top two in the championship in the order they currently stand in the points as well. It's Rinaldi in third and a really strong start from Razgat Lioglu. Bautista losing a couple of places there as we see further back down the order. Xavi Forés losing positions, hand over fist, having gone wide in the early running. So the Honda's under pressure here, but not as much pressure as Scott Redding, who's been overhauled by Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Strong early charge from Toprak Razgat Lioglu through from 7th to 4th, which is why Bautista has lost a position. He's coming through there on the inside of Tom Sykes, so he's back into 5th place, which is where he started the race. He's got a blue machine in front of him in Razgat Lioglu. A bit of a gap now has opened up while Bautista was fighting his way through on Sykes, and no doubt the Honda man will hope to hunt that down. Chaz Davies is up into 7th position. He's the next man to have a go at Tom Sykes, and that may well be down this back straight. Rinaldi closing in on Ray. Could be an opportunity into the final two turns for the number 21 to hit the front. He ducks out of the slipstream. Michael Ruben Rinaldi carves his way down the inside of the reigning world champion. Jonathan Ray is going to make life as difficult as possible for the Italian youngster, but eventually has to yield. Cuts back now to chase Rinaldi into turn number 1. They're almost side by side off the at the end of the opening lap. Rinaldi claims the ground, moving across the front of Ray, who's got to be careful not to let Redding slip by as well. Lap number 4, Bautista through on the inside of Toprak into turn 1. Can he get it stopped in time? That's been the problem generally for Bautista, trying to make moves into turn 1. He's done it this time around, but Razgat Lioglu does look fast enough in the first half of the lap in particular, and will keep Bautista under pressure. Unfortunately, we've lost Maximilian Scheib, who's had an incident at turn number 3, so that's 2 riders now out of the running as things stand, and Scheib was up in a good position as well, having qualified fairly well in the top positions as well, in 13th on the grid. We're watching now the fight for 5th place. The Yamahas have got no answer. Davies is swarming all over the back of Razgat Lioglu and catches him much earlier in the lap than you might even have expected. Toprak starting to slip backwards now. Davies released in P5.
You can see their notification that Melandri's pulled into the pits to retire from this race. Bautista, he's trying to get a run on Scott Redding, but he's going to struggle to make that move into turn 1. We saw him get close enough to attack Toprak. I don't think he's going to be close enough against that Ducati engine to try and attack into turn 1, but the pressure is mounting now on Scott Redding. The front of the field though, Rinaldi's opened up 2.7 seconds, another 7/10 of a second last time around, so he's doing a fantastic job out in front. But like we said earlier, he's on that SCX rear tyre, so he's going to have to start thinking about managing it. But it's a lot easier to manage a lead when you've got 3 seconds in hand.
Alvaro Bautista has... oh, down goes Scott Redding! Down goes Redding from 3rd position, defending against Bautista. He's binned his Ducati in the gravel.
We've seen Redding make a few mistakes in this race so far. We saw him run in a little bit hot into turn 1. We've seen him complain about grip issues at times during the course of this weekend, and now we've seen him crash out at turn 5. The first real mistake we've seen from Scott Redding this season. Keep an eye on the 45. He's just wide on the entry. He's out where there isn't the rubber down. He's a little bit too much angle through there compared to what we usually see from the riders. So for Scott Redding, he's trying to defend that position from Bautista and makes the mistake, and that can be a very costly mistake when Jonathan Ray's up in 2nd position in this race.
Lap 11, this is the fight that I've been talking about. Garrett Gerloff defending against Loris Baz for that 11th place. Now the problem for Baz is he's been one of the slowest riders through the speed traps. It doesn't make it easy for him to make a pass. He gets a little bit squirrely and out of shape there into turn number 1. And problems as well for Alex Lowe's. Lowe's looking over his shoulder, is dropping back places. Sykes has come through, Caricasulo has come through. Lowe's rejoins in front of the fight between Gerloff and Baz, but it looks as though Alex Lowe's has got a problem.
Looks like Caricasulo's under pressure from the Kawasaki of Lowe's as well, trying to attack down into that last corner. Caricasulo able to hold him off, and Haslam able to hold off Tom Sykes as well. Haslam, we saw in that battle last week, come out on top, but it looks like he's going to be under pressure here from Sykes. But Leon's always a tough rider to get past. He's always willing to get the elbows out and try and attack straight back. Sykes gets down the inside into turn 1, but look at Haslam trying to get that cut back, get the drive up the hill. And Sykes might have made the move, but he's still going to be attacked again. But last time around, we did see Haslam struggle. He was down in the 1:53s, so quite a bit off the kind of pace that you expect from these riders.
And Lowe's will fancy passing the pair of them here because he has got the pace. He's honed right in. It's a four-rider battle for 7th place. It's Sykes, Haslam, Lowe's, Caricasulo stuck with them, and Sykes is off the circuit. Sykes has run wide and will go to the back of the group now, down to 10th place. So all the hard work done by Tom Sykes to get through on Leon Haslam for 7th, and he's thrown it all away. He's back down into 10th position.
And unfortunately for Sykes, probably just with Haslam down the inside, tried to be a little bit aggressive on the outside line and then just gets caught out, but he's got all that work to do once again. You can see from Haslam, though, he's under attack from Lowe's, who's recovering well after that mistake into turn 1.
Alex Lowe's then through on the inside against Leon Haslam. Haslam had already been passed for that 7th position by Tom Sykes, who then went to the back of the group with an error. Lowe's has now recovered 7th place. Haslam is also under pressure from Federico Caricasulo. 3 different manufacturers fighting it out for 7th position as they go into turn number 1. Lavity down the inside of Gerloff as well will come through for 11th place. So the recovery continues for the Irishman.
The door tends to be opened for you down in that midfield battle. We saw last week that that battle for 7 saw the riders just taking lumps out of one another basically, and it really was a case of trying to attack constantly. And you can see here for Chaz Davis, he's now in a position to really attack on Alvaro Bautista, so it looks like a mistake for Bautista, but his pace, it still stayed relatively constant. But look at Chaz Davis and that Ducati using the power to make that move down the back straight. Bautista's going to try and answer back, but Chaz Davis is going to have the inside line.
Side by side then as they come into the final 2 turns. Bautista sweeps across. Can he get it stopped in time, or will Davies get up the inside coming out of turn 17 and in towards turn number 1? We ride on board with Chaz Davies. Bautista lost half a second in one sector alone, and that has reignited the fight for the last of the podium places. Davies looking down the inside. Candy from a baby for the Welshman. Bautista will try and cut back and pull alongside. A missed opportunity perhaps for the Honda man. Chaz Davies has finally found his way through into 3rd position. Bautista still looking strong, but he's going to have to regroup in the closing stages with less than 4 laps to go. It's almost side-by-side stuff between the 2 red machines, the Ducati of Chaz Davies and the Honda of Alvaro Bautista. Alvaro Bautista is staying right with Chaz Davies. 0.3 of a second is the gap between them, and it's close for 5th place as well. Michael van der Mark, while all of this was going on for P3, has found his way through on Toprak Razgatlioglu. So the Dutchman, certainly a slow burner in this race, but he is now top Yamaha once again. Oh, down goes Alvaro Bautista from 4th position. Under pressure, having been picked off by Davies, Bautista bins it into the gravel trap. We saw Michael Ruben Rinaldi making the signs of the cross before he went out earlier on. He's certainly going to be praying alongside the team that the bike holds out for the final 2 turns. 65 races without a podium finish. Rinaldi is going to break the duck, and in style, Michael Ruben Rinaldi wins in Aragon. Celebrations can begin for Michael Ruben Rinaldi, the 24-year-old Italian, who in his 66th WorldSBK start takes his first race victory, and that of the Team Go 11 squad as well. Second over the line, it's Jonathan Ray, who'll lead the championship by 30 points. Lights out. Drag race down to the first turn. Alex Lowe's has got a good start, so too has Loris Baz. Jonathan Ray hits the front. Scott Redding looking to the inside line off him into turn 1, but Ray has covered it off well. It's Jonathan Ray who leads us. Scott Redding in 2nd. Michael Ruben Rinaldi in 3rd. Alvaro Bautista in 4th position, so Ray has leapfrogged Redding out in front. Chaz Davies holds 5th place ahead of Razgatlioglu, who's made up ground. Alex Lowe's dropping backwards now, down to 9th position, so Lowe's must have got caught out there as Razgatlioglu stands up Haslam. Baz will try and get past the pair of them early on. They're almost 3 abreast. Haslam in the end has to defend against Baz. It's been a decent start from Loris Baz. He's up 2 places now into 8th position. It's Redding then who leads us from, Ray rather who leads us from Redding. We ride on board now with the number 45. They make their way down the hill once again. And Jonathan Ray so far has the answer, but what can Scott Redding do in the second half of lap number 1 to try and affect Ray's rhythm? He loves to lead it from the front. So Jonathan Ray is not going to take a gamble on tyre choice. He knows that a decent result here. Oh, up the inside goes Scott Redding. Catches Ray by surprise. That's a stunning manoeuvre from Scott Redding to lead us. I suggested that the one thing Jonathan Ray would not want to see is that Ducati in front of him. It makes his life that much harder. So Scott Redding has forced the issue to lead the way on lap number 1 of race 2. Redding recovers then, having been passed by Jonathan Ray in the run down to turn number 1. But by the time we get to the end of lap number 1, Redding is back in front, and Ray now will surely come under pressure from Michael Ruben Rinaldi, Alvaro Bautista and Chaz Davies, who are all tucked directly in behind. Watch to see if Ray can recover here into turn number 1. He is close to Redding, coming off turn number 17. He thinks about a move into turn 1 but can't get there, and Rinaldi is homing in on the top 2 as well. Jonathan Ray getting a good run there around turn 16 and 17 to come through and complete lap number 2. Rinaldi close to the tail of Ray as well. It was Rinaldi who was the fastest of the lead trio last lap around, but they're all running in the 1 minute 50.5s in those top 4 positions, and that's why Bautista has gone with them as well. Side by side further back, Haslam and Razgat Lioglu fighting it out for 6th place. That's a good effort from Leon Haslam, who started behind Razgat Lioglu, remember, on the grid, and Toprak tumbling backwards, and once again Michael van der Mark going in the opposite direction. He's already through and up into 9th place. Lowe's has recovered P8 with Baz dropping back, so inconsistency among the Yamahas, but none of those blue machines are up at the front of the field. It's mostly red in the top 5 as Ray runs wide. Jonathan Ray runs wide. Michael Ruben Rinaldi with an opportunity here to pounce. He's not going to do it into turn number 8, but perhaps a rare glimpse of an error from Jonathan Ray, and he's given Scott Redding just a little bit of breathing room there. Lap number 4 then, Scott Redding leads by almost 0.3 of a second once again over Jonathan Ray. It's Michael Ruben Rinaldi directly in behind. They're side by side between the 2 Yamahas. Further back down the order, Razgat Lioglu and van der Mark scrapping it out over P8. That's Maximilian Scheib, who once again has gone down, this time at turn 15. So disappointment for Max Scheib, who'll fail to score in this one. But back at the front, they're trading blows as Jonathan Ray recovers to the tail of Scott Redding.
Tom Sykes back in the team garage, not entirely sure what's happened there, perhaps a technical issue for the Yorkshireman, but he is out of this race. We go back to the lead group, and Ray again looking menacing through the middle, twisty sectors.
Jonathan Ray incisive on the inside, was almost alongside through turns 6 and 7. And Scott Redding is going to have eyes in the back of his head here. Oh, problems for Bautista. Bautista is down once again. Alvaro Bautista, can you believe the misfortune of this man? We were just giving him all of the credit for some excellent efforts on board the Honda, and he's gone down at turn 9.
Yeah, Alvaro Bautista, 3 of the full-length races now at Aragon. He has crashed out. It's a real shame for the Honda rider because he was looking strong now. And if these three can break away now from Chaz Davies, well, we might have your podium men right now if there are no more mistakes.
So I said the field was beginning to thin out. It's certainly thinned out now. Redding, Ray and Rinaldi covered by 0.3 of a second. We just see the end of Bautista's crash there at turn number 9.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange crash. We'll see it again on board now as we only caught the end of that. Yep, just losing the front there. It's a pretty slow crash. He'll be able to remount and perhaps fight his way back into the points, but that's his podium battle over.
Alvaro Bautista then out to the back of the field, has remounted. He's certainly not going to contend, as we've said, at the front of the field, where we've got Scott Redding, Jonathan Ray and Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Again, less than 0.3 of a second between them as they cross the line with 13 still to go. Let's hope that this fight goes to the finish. It's going to be a cracker. Chaz Davies in 4th place just doesn't have the answers at this stage of the race. You wonder whether he's conserving tyre for later on in the action. Ray thought about a manoeuvre there into turn number 4, thought better of it in the end. Through turn 5, it's Redding who's having to defend, but it's Jonathan Ray who just never gives up, looking for a way through now. Up the inside into turn number 7, Ray alongside Redding, side by side, green versus red. Redding has the cutback manoeuvre, side by side again as they head down towards turn 8. The elbows are out from Redding. Ray will be determined to see himself to the front now. Redding boxes out Ray. That's an opportunity for Rinaldi to try and come through on Jonathan Ray here. Ray might have bolted with the manoeuvre a little bit too early in the lap there because Scott Redding has made that work to perfection, and now he's got a rider between himself and Jonathan Ray, but not for long. Here comes Rinaldi down the inside of Scott Redding into turn number number 12. We've seen Jonathan Rea close to Reading throughout the day here today. Around that turn, and Rinaldi has made it stick. He's seen Jonathan Rea attempt it. Rea now will dive down the inside. Brilliant World Superbike action at the front of the field. Side by side throughout this lap so far, and now it's second. The battle between Reading and Rea. Has the Kawasaki got the grunt? Rea shakes his head in frustration. He knows he's not quite got enough, even in the slipstream. They head into turn number 16. Final 2 turns of lap number 6. That's been a corker, and it might get even better here. Jonathan Rea threw up the inside of Scott Redding, who'll try the cutback manoeuvre. He's going to have to do something very special now into turn number 1. Rinaldi, brilliant to hit the front once again. Jonathan Rea now defending second place, and Scott Redding has lost 2 places in just 1 lap. The gap was up beyond a second. It's only a fraction beyond a second now. Reading losing a little bit of ground through that second sector. We're focusing on the battle at the front. Reading hoping to bring himself in contention. And certainly if it all goes wrong for these two, there might be an opportunity. Rinaldi sliding through turns 12 and 13. Rea once again glued to the tail of him. Again, wider into turn 15 for the cutback and the drag down the back straight. Still Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Surge is clear. Great racing going on further down the order as well. Problems for Chaz Davies. Davies goes down in the fight with Haslam, Lozen, Van der Mark, and Chaz Davies, the master of Motorland, is out of the action. Jonathan Rea to the inside then of Michael Ruben Rinaldi, who is almost caught by surprise through the left-handers at 4 and 5. Then it's through the right-handers at turn 6 and 7, where Rea has already had a couple of stabs. He gets a surge of momentum coming off turn 5. Now is the time to make the move, says Jonathan Rea, who thunders down the inside of Michael Ruben Rinaldi through 6 and 7. Rea is totally out of shape. Rinaldi hits the front, and Jonathan Rea can breathe a sigh of relief, because that could have been real drama for the reigning world champion.
One of the best saves of the season from Jonathan Rea right now. He was nearly out of that, and that would have been absolutely huge with Scott Redding just behind. He's still in contention for the win now. Let's see the replay of that overtake. Absolutely huge moment in this race.
Well, if you ever think that Jonathan Rea is just riding within himself, he's scoring the points for the championship, he's not pushing to the max, forget about it. He was pushing as hard as you like to try and get the better of Michael Ruben Rinaldi. He's up against a Ducati that has very different strengths to his own Kawasaki, and he is having to try and make things work in rather unconventional areas of the circuit. He almost paid the price there, and Scott Redding must have been rubbing his hands at that moment. The gap between himself and Rea came down briefly to just 0.7 of a second. Here goes Jonathan Rea again, diving down the inside through 6 and 7, and this time he's made it stick. Jonathan Rea, having worked his way past Scott Redding for second position, finally picks off Michael Ruben Rinaldi to hit the front in Motorland Aragon. Down the back straight they come then. This is where Michael Ruben Rinaldi was successfully able to fend off Jonathan Rea so many times during this race. But it is in the first 2 sectors of the lap that Rea eventually forced his way to the front. What a brilliant lap 6 we had. What a brilliant pass we had from Jonathan Rea. It's going to be his 3rd race victory in just 2 weeks around Motorland Aragon. Jonathan Rea wins it and leaves this circuit with a 36-point championship lead.